Here are 10 creativity habits that are life-changing for emerging musical theater writers, or really any creative, but we're here for the musical theater writers. How do I know these habits work? Because I live them, darling! But seriously, I was introduced and immersed in these concepts while taking part in an experience that drastically changed my writing and my creativity forever. Number 10 especially. And now I'm sharing the wisdom I gained with all of you. Let's get into it. The experience I'm talking about is a group creativity coaching program put on by the founders of The Spark File, Susan Blackwell and Laura Cammey. Spark File began as a brilliant podcast, one that got me through some real ruts, and has since grown to become a creativity coaching business as well. I was lucky enough to be a part of the first 2 cohorts of the program, which is now known as Blaze, a 6-month program, and the amount of wisdom that I took away in terms of creativity and writing cannot be overstated. My friends, great coaches can change your life. I mean, they certainly changed mine. The 10 habits I talk about today are all brilliant takeaways from my time in the program, which I now infuse into my own creative life, as well as all of the programs and spaces that I create. These pieces of wisdom are unofficial and are habits that I gleaned from my time in the program. The Spark File is not sponsoring this video in any way. This is all coming directly from me. But I do want to say, Susan and Laura, thank you for your brilliance. Here we go. Number 1, ground. Before anything else, when you are in a particular space or about to do some creative work, ground yourself. What does this mean? Ultimately, it means finding a way to be present in the moment, and there are several ways you can do this. Since our brains and bodies tend to be buzzing with the energy of our days and schedules and anxieties and news cycles, etc., we need to find ways to slow them down and get to a pause. A fantastic start is to begin by focusing on your breathing and to breathe with intention. There are tons of ways to do breath work, and each one has a slightly different effect and use. But the basic idea is to breathe deeply and slowly, especially on the out breath, while concentrating on the feelings within your body. The internet is filled with more specifics, and I encourage you to go look up some options. Another great way is to literally ground yourself, to feel your feet on the ground and your tushy on whatever it is that you're sitting on. Yes, I said tushy. What about it? For some people, this is enough, but for other people, they want to feel even more grounded, more connected, and you can think about roots growing out from the bottom of your feet straight down to the center of the earth if you want a little extra of that grounding feel. Whatever works best for you. All while having one hand on your heart and or one hand on your belly can, in combination, bring you directly into the present moment. There are, of course, other methods, but these are 2 low-lift options for me to share with you. Number 2, ritualize. The internet loves talking about morning rituals, and for good reason. They are great ways to start your day with comfort, gratitude, and intentional uses of your energy. But the morning isn't always the ideal time to create a ritual for everybody. Evening rituals are something that I hear a lot of the productivity gurus talk about because of how much sleep affects our energy levels and everything else that happens in our life. And quality sleep is something that we cannot, as creative folks, sleep on. I apologize. Being intentional with your time, your energy, food and drink habits, your bedtime hours, your screen usage all make a gigantic difference to the quality of your sleep, which does help set your energy and creativity levels for the next several days. 2 other ritual times I will offer to you are just before you sit down to create and just before you share your work. A ritual before you begin creating can help set your brain and body into the mode that it needs to be in order to do this work and to minimize the amount of resistance. Likewise, a ritual before you share your work can train your brain and body to begin doing it in a positive way and a safe way instead of something that is scary or stressful. Ritual is a powerful one, my friends. Number 3, take stock. Before we can do anything or go anywhere, we need to know where we're starting from. In order for a path to be created, you need to know both the ending point and also the starting point. This of course means knowing where you are in your work and reviewing everything that you have, where you have been, to know where you are right now. But this also means knowing where you are physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically. If you are energetically low one day, that is not something that you want to try to resist or try to correct in any way, but we also don't want to use it as an excuse for, well, I just can't create today. Instead, it's simply a fact to be aware of so you can be more realistic about what you are likely to get accomplished that day. And instead of resisting, acknowledge it and give yourself a little grace. I mean, we could all use more of that. Number 4, Accountability. Y'all, accountability is key. Yes, we can absolutely be accountable to ourselves, but not everyone is great at being accountable to themselves and or use shame tactics to do so, which is a lot less effective. Other ways to be accountable are grabbing a buddy who can check in with you at regular intervals. Keeping tabs on your deadlines and what you've accomplished so far so you can use notes, a journal, or a calendar as your accountability buddy. There are also productivity apps and websites that will do this work either with you or for you. Or you can join a group program like the Spark Files Blaze program or my own Mastery Accelerator program. As Susan and Laura would say, however you're doing it, as long as you're doing it right. Number 5, visualize. Yes, this can get woo-woo. And I love woo-woo, but it also doesn't have to get woo-woo. Woo. Once you know where you are, you do have to know where you're headed, and I don't mean in a general sense. Goals need to be specific in order for them to be effective, which means we do have to know all those ins and outs of who, what, where, when, why, and how of every single goal. You can go through a guided visualization process for this, absolutely. There's some really great techniques out there. But you can instead simply journal on this and write down all of the details. But either way, we do need to be able to visualize what being in the state of actually having accomplished this goal looks like and feels like. Number 6, make tangible. Okay, now that we have our specific goals, it is time to make the process tangible. This is the part where people who like manifesting but never seem to get the thing that they're manifesting, this is where they tend to miss the mark a bit. The visualization piece is key, 100%. But we also need to know how to get there. It is lovely to visualize your show on Broadway 1 year from right now, but do you know all the steps that need to be taken in order to get there? And have you gone through the process of putting those things realistically on a calendar and working backwards across the necessary steps? Because in doing this process, you may find that your goal is not as feasible as you thought it was. Or you may actually realize the opposite and know that you've been underestimating yourself and your ability to accomplish things. This part of the process is difficult for most people, which I do understand, but it is something that comes very, very naturally to me, so I infuse this process directly into all of my one-on-one coaching, as well as my accelerator program. If that sounds like something that you want or need, then let's have a conversation about it. I'll put a link to be able to contact me in the description below. Number 7, tack. This phrase was introduced to me in the Sparkfile program, and I absolutely love it. It's a navigation term from sailing that essentially means that occasionally you need to take stock of where you are so you can course correct if you are off course. Sometimes, my friends, you just need to pause and take stock of where you've been, where you are now, and where you are headed. Have you gotten off track? Do you need to find your North Star again and reorient? Where have you been? Have you accomplished what you thought you would or needed to by now? And are we headed toward the same goal, or have things changed at all? Doing this process even just a few times a year can make a humongous difference, though I would personally recommend doing it closer to every month or every other month. Number 8, reset. We've all been taught to push, 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 and that's how we're gonna get to our final destinations. But in reality, our brains, bodies, energy centers, and nervous systems do all occasionally need a break and a reset. There's a wonderful set of resources in the book Burnout by Emily and Amelia Nagoski for resetting your nervous system in particular. And let's be real, as creatives who are constantly taking on big challenges within ourselves and within the world around us as we birth new creative ventures into the world, we are constantly putting our nervous systems in a spot where they feel like there is a tiger chasing us. More likely it's not a tiger, it's your imposter syndrome sitting on your shoulder and whispering mean things in your ear, but all the same. Some low-lift ways to reset all of your systems are meditation, go outside into nature, take a walk, take a cold shower, exercise, practice yoga, EFT, and there are many, many, many more ways to do this as well. Number 9, share. Humans are social creatures. We crave being known almost as much as we crave food, water, and shelter. This means that we need to break those old habits of keeping everything to ourselves and playing our hand close to our vest, and instead begin to open up more with one another. Tell someone what you're up to. Talk about your projects. Get people excited. When you have material to share it. Initiate conversations. Manifest those big dreams by talking about them. Because the more we begin to talk about them, the more real they feel to us and the more possible they become. Get feedback from people that you know, love, and trust, or in a group setting that has a great feedback system. Don't keep your creations to yourself, unless you're only creating for yourself. But as writers, most of the time, we are writing to share. So my friends, share away. Number 10, perhaps the most important of all, be coached. Having that outside person, that influence who's more objective than we are, who can be a reflection point for us and for our work, that is the most valuable thing that you can acquire. Coaches have the ability to see what we're not seeing, as well as the ability to pull out of us what we need. Not because they have all the answers, but because they know that we have all the answers buried somewhere in here. And not everyone loves to be led by a coach, but this is a crucial skill that we all need to acquire, because at some point, you will need to be led in the process. And great coaches have a beautiful way of being able to give us precisely what we need, when we need it, and to help us integrate everything that we learn and that we do. This is what I love to do the most, and I would be very happy to have a conversation with you about your projects and to see how I might be able to be of service to you as a coach in one of many capacities. But even if it's not me, or it's not Susan and Laura, find your person. Find your coach, because we all want you to succeed. But before you get coaching from anyone, you need to know 6 crucial things about your show. And if you want to learn those, then you should watch this video next. Otherwise, thank you all for being here with me today, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers!